From Google reviews to Google Maps of hiring, building a navigation system for the online job market. Hi, my name is Sarah Trimble. I'm the founder and CEO of the Job Applicant Perspective, the first anonymous user reviews for job ads across the U.S. This is the level of go-to-market awareness, as well as public service. It's a vision of the future. Zoran Mandani said something in a speech once that really struck me as true as well. And it had to do with the lack of imagination. He felt that sometimes the way people are talking, it's not a desire to not do something good, it's just a lack of imagination. I couldn't agree more. So the first 100 blogs or so were about what's going on wrong in the online job market. And the next several are all about what I plan to do, like my vision for the future. I want to articulate what the market can be. So this is the second of two presentation layers that I have planned. The first, also the Yelp that I have already, will always be there because I think some people will always just want simple views like that. But the other is the trust stock market, and this one is the Google Maps of online hiring, because I think technology has progressed to the level where the same data layer can be used for different presentation platforms, presentation methods, just a lot like Google Maps. You can see the terrain, you can see it by roads. It just depends on how you need to and how you like to. So this is where we see it going in the end, because in the end, there's a bajillion different cognitive architectures out there. And our goal is to meet the workforce where they are in the style of gathering information that is good for you in your job search. Because the thing that's so true about the online hiring market is the people that it needs to meet the needs of are the ones that least can afford to spend time there. And that's how the job market clears. Otherwise, it just runs as an engagement trap. So when we offer value to job seekers and we make it so they can spend the least amount of time there, we also need to think about how to present the information in a way that they can access it and it can work for them in their cognitive style. So that's what I plan to do. Anyway, I'll start from the beginning. The Lost Navigator. Imagine trying to navigate an unfamiliar city with no map, no traffic data, and no warning signs. You could wander aimlessly or chase every flashing billboard, but either way, you'd be guessing. This is exactly how job searching feels today. You're navigating an unfamiliar landscape with no reliable map, which postings lead somewhere with 40% are fake by all accounts. No traffic reports, which processes are stalled even when they aren't fake. No alternate routes. If this route fails, what's the next one? And no warnings about road closures, which companies have hiring freezes. It all doesn't work because everybody who owns the map makes more money the longer you spend time on the road. You're asked to make life-altering career decisions with less information than you'd use to find a coffee shop. But what if finding a job could feel more like navigating with Google Maps? What if you could see the trustworthiness of different routes, company processes, real-time traffic reports, how long others are waiting, alternate paths to the same destination? Warnings about roadblocks before you hit them. This isn't about making hiring easier, it's about making it navigable, giving you the tools to move from lost to directed, from guessing to knowing. Who this is for? This is for job seekers. Understand your platform isn't just about applying faster. It's about making sense of trust signals in multiple formats. Employers and HR visual and conceptual signals can highlight where engagement is meaningful versus wasted. Product designers, data scientists, insights on how trust can be modeled and presented to different cognitive types. Researchers, analysts, examples of translating systemic trust into actionable, observable signals. Curious minds in market design see the interplay of human attention, trust, and engagement in a complex market. From stock market to street map, why we need multiple metaphors. In our last piece, we explored the trust stock market, viewing job opportunities as investments with tickers, showing their trustworthiness over time. The metaphor works for investors in their own careers, people thinking strategically about risk, return, and portfolio allocation. But not everyone thinks like an investor. Some people think like travelers. The Google Maps metaphor serves a different cognitive style. Visual spatial thinkers who understand relationships through maps and flows. Political planners, practical planners who want to know, how do I get from here to there? Anxious navigators who need reassurance that they're on the right path. Here's the crucial insight. The same trust data layer that powers the stock ticker can also power the map. We're not changing the reality, we're changing how you see it. What a trust map actually shows you. Layer 1, the terrain, company, industry, landscapes. Just as Google Maps shows mountains, rivers, and neighborhoods, a trust map reveals which industries have transparent hiring practices, flat plains, easy to navigate. Which companies have reputation, mountains, high trust, but difficult to scale. Which sectors are swamps, opaque, slow-moving, easy to get stuck in, for example. Layer 2, the roads, hiring processes. Every company has its own road system for hiring. Highways, efficient, well-maintained processes with clear signage. Back roads, slower but potentially more personal routes. Networks, construction zones, processes undergoing changes, proceed with caution. Dead ends, postings that rarely lead to hires. Layer 3, the traffic, real-time conditions. This is where trust becomes actionable. Green routes can be processes moving smoothly, timely responses. Yellow routes, some delays, proceed with awareness. Red routes, gridlock, applicants reporting ghosting, confusion, and breakdowns. Accident reports, specific process failures happening right now. Reviewing the trust measurement framework in our first piece, we established that trust in hiring breaks down to 3 measurable dimensions. Number 1, transparency. Is information on this job ad clear, complete, and accurate? Again, we are evaluating job ads, not employment. These are 2 entirely different things. Job ads is the attention economy that masquerades as a job market. Employment is something else. This is about the hiring intermediaries finally having a level of reputation and regulation to control their behavior in the market. Transparency, is information clear, complete, and accurate? Experiential respect, does the process honor a participant's humanity? Again, these are all going to be different for different people. What I like and what somebody else likes doesn't have to be the same thing, and it's not a reflection on the vendor necessarily. It just helps the employer decide what kind of company they want to hire. Time is currency, is the effort required proportional to the opportunity? These are not just nice to have, they're fundamental indicators of whether a hiring process will actually convert into effort. Especially, I think, time as currency, because employers are spending their dollars, job seekers are spending their time. So when an employer is hiring, if they have a sense that, like, if they're hiring a vendor to take care of their hiring process, they have a sense that, like, well, Greenhouse costs this much a month, but they use this much time as currency. Whereas Workday charges this much a month, but they take this much time as currency. They can decide what's the best thing for them. Right now, the job seeker input that they're making is totally non-existent, which is where the profit stream and the exploitation comes from. If we work with that, we can make it better. We don't score each dimension separately, though. That would turn navigating into grading homework. Instead, we collect data organized around these 3 dimensions for the map, around these 3 dimensions on the back end, and then surface the actual behavioral outcomes on the front end. Think of it like Google Maps. The system measures road quality, traffic density, and safety on the back end. But what you see is 15 minutes via I-80 moderate traffic. The measurements inform what data gets collected. The display shows you what you need to know actually. This is better for job seekers. They're not looking for all the things in every case. I'll keep saying. You can make your own decisions. What this looks like in practice, say you're looking at a customer success role in 3 different companies, for example. Customer service role. Company A, a tech startup. Median time to first response, 48 hours. 85% clear rejection or move forward after initial screen. Interview process, 60% report 0 interviews, 30% get a phone screen, 10% advance to the team interview. Of those who interviewed, 4 weeks of silence common after the final round. Company B, enterprise, a SaaS model enterprise company. Median time to respond, 1 week. 40% auto-rejected, 28% moved to phone screen. Interview process, typically 5 rounds over 6 to 8 weeks. Of those who interviewed, 90% received decision within 1 week of final round. Company C, an agency. Insufficient data, fewer than 10 tracked applications. Note, different people have different needs. One person's too slow is another person's thorough and worth it. The map gives you the data. You make the call based on what matters to you right now. It's true. depending on my situation and my space and my career, maybe that doesn't bother me. Maybe it's fine. And but somebody else, maybe it's not fine. And even so, even if I get rejected, I'm no longer worried that it's about my character. I can place it in a category of, okay, well, 60% of the people also got rejected. Or, I'm unique to get rejected. And then I have more information like it probably was my resume this time. And the HR didn't have to say anything. The legal never had to get any trouble for it. But I would have a better sense that it really was my resume, because if everybody else is getting through and I'm not, that is something about me. That is something I need to know. It can happen. We can also look at this through routes to the destination, because we're talking about all these variety of HR tech firms that just a gigantic black box. And your experience applying through LinkedIn does not need to be your experience applying through Indeed or ZipRecruiter or whoever it is. For example, customer success role at company B via LinkedIn, 200 applications tracked, 15% get phone screen, yellow at initial response, 10-day average rate. Of those who get interviews, 60% report positive experience. Via the company website, direct, 80 applications tracked, 28% get phone screen. Green at initial response, 3-day average rate. Of those who get interviews, 75% report positive experience. Via referral network, 12 applications tracked, 67% get phone screen. Green throughout, 2-day response, personal contact. 90% report positive experience. Via Indeed, 350 applications tracked, 5% get phone screen. Red, most report never hearing back. Again, part of the reason we do this is because one of my acquaintances, Jay Jones, tracks LinkedIn, and he took down like 32,000 fake job ads in the last year and a half or so. And like 6,000 fake recruiters. What these recruiters do is they copy a real company. They put the same picture from the real company on LinkedIn and the same job ad that real recruiter is doing. And they basically send people to get identity theft that way. And so he's taken them down. He's one person, and he's gotten 32,000 job ads removed from LinkedIn. And so this helps job seekers be 1 million people doing 1 or 2, and helps all of us, including the real recruiters who are being slammed here, because they're not the problem, It helps us avoid the problem. Navigating variability without overclaiming. Markets are messy. Different cities, employers, and job boards have varying practices, posting habits, and engagement patterns. The goal of TJAP is not to moralize a cause for an outcome. This is where we are trying to improve what's going on in the market here. We're only to observe that it exists and let candidates make choices accordingly. Our goal is to observe and attune a shared reality, not to moralize it, especially without investigating. We don't know. Think about it. A red highway doesn't signal a lack of value on that road per se in a real map. It signals a traffic jam. That's all. In hiring market language, this lets you know as an applicant only that maybe an HR started ghosting because they already have enough applications. For you to know that helps you choose accordingly, and HRs too. It's not perfect info. It's better info. And already that helps everyone involved. If I know that 80% of applications are getting automatically rejected, I can make an informed choice for myself. This isn't about them being bad or good. This is about you being able to make an informed choice. And that helps everybody and the engagement trap. TJAP is built to solve the core design challenge of monetizing integrity in an online market. The trust model we've developed and formalized in our SSRN white paper provides the engine. It reduces information asymmetry and manipulation by aligning platform incentives with user-reported truth rather than advertiser volume. This is not charity. It's rigorous market design. This leads to our fundamental strategic axiom. Instead of optimizing primarily for customer acquisition costs, we prioritize user acquisition costs. We measure our success by the depth of the trust built with the job seekers. Investing in this trust creates a powerful economic moat. High integrity compounds into efficiency, lower friction, and better matches. When users trust the map, employers gain a superior hiring signal. Revenue follows this engagement. It is a consequence of the service, not the driver of it. The result is a community-based,
supportive discovery system, not a gladiator pit. People engage online in all sorts of ways. You just need to allow them to engage in a way that's about bringing value to the community, not reminding them that they're not worth anything until they have a job. In short, trust isn't a marketing layer, it's the foundation of the revenue strategy. That's it. The reason online hiring doesn't work is because they don't build trust for the users. It's trust theater, trust for the customers, while silencing the user experience when the user experience controls the amount of subscriptions is an admission of an engagement trap, an admission of it. Online hiring doesn't, I genuinely think most of the data from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics in the first 20 years will be used in the class action lawsuits that pull apart this economic atrocity. But we got to get there. And I got to keep working on this stuff because I got to keep convincing job seekers that they're allowed to act as agents in a market that drives all of its billions, hundreds of billions in revenue from their presence. How this changes navigation for job seekers. From wanderer to navigator. Instead of I'll apply to 200 marketing roles and hope one works, you can now, I see 10 companies with green trusted marketing hiring processes within my commute radius. Company A is the fastest route but lower salary. Company B, C, D, E, and F pay more but have shakier hiring processes. Company H, I, J, and K have a longer process but great hiring reviews. You're no longer guessing. You're choosing based on information. From job seekers from navigator to map builder. Instead of I'm the fool that fell for 100 scams and waited 5 months, you can now, I'm the hero of my community because I saved 20 other people from the same scams, and I helped Nelson keep making rent payments for doing so. I also met 5 other people struggling with the same thing. You are a protector of your community. Your negative experiences bond you to the community members who can say now, me too, or protect others from harm. This transforms info into insight that makes you feel powerful and connected to others, not ashamed of harm. It strengthens community connection at scale with others nearby and far away. Genuinely, and I say it too, the greatest mystery in online hiring, the greatest secret is there is no secret. The problem isn't that job seekers are lazy, is that the workforce in the one marketplace for gateway to human survival, we require the workforce to never have each other. There can be no community. Every other online marketplace, you want to buy tennis shoes, you get to have community to watch out for scammers online. You want to buy baseball cards, you get community to watch out for scammers online. But if you want to make sure you can pay rent and buy food, no way, it's unprofessional for you to watch out for scammers, for people who are like yourself. It's a wild disconnect from logic. It's the exact opposite of what communities and societies were created for in the first place, to help each other, watch out for tigers in the world. Like, if this is what professionalism is, I'm not into it. And it is not lost on me as a person who studies spirals and complex dynamic systems that in a strange way, the complex dynamic system, if you think of Harvey Weinstein, he's hiring acting couch and Harvey Weinstein as a character, how he wasn't brought down by the young blood by the Christopher Nolans and the Wachowski brothers and the Steven Spielbergs. He was brought down by the young blonde actresses that shouldn't talk about their hiring process. It makes them unprofessional. We have a problem with oligarchs in this country. We have a problem with economic inequality in this country. And demonstrably a problem with, an international schmedophile ring. I don't even want to say all the horrible things going on there. But isn't it interesting that the complex dynamic system version of Harvey Weinstein is also bolstered by the complex dynamic system version of Harvey Weinstein's acting couch? It's not the same thing because it's not exactly the same, because obviously it's not. But when you're talking about be quiet or you won't eat, stop talking or you won't eat, and then you're seeing that extraction at a large scale too, it mirrors a similar dynamic. And for my part of correcting the income inequality is holding people accountable, being able to. Markets don't work without accountability, without discipline. They don't work at all. It's just a market failure that's kept up by good PR. That's all. and Bonhoeffer's collapse of perspectives from the people at the top end. But yeah, for employers, there's vast benefits. From black box to transparent highways, companies can see where they're hiring roads or developing potholes, consistently low trust scores at certain stages. Is the process a pre-screen or interview to or candidates start dropping out? How their routes compare to competitors. Does a deco or pontoon work better for competitors at my size? Do other stores in my area use XYZ hiring company? And how are candidates' happiness levels there? It's a good question. Where to invest in road improvements, process fixes that actually matter to candidates. Greenhouse costs $8 in subscription, but consistently posts a job seeker times currency cost of B. When I compare with Workday $C subscription costs and D times currency, I can make a better choice for my firm. For the market, from chaos to coordination, everyone can see the map. Traffic distributes more evenly. Applicants don't all pile onto broken processes. Road maintenance happens proactively. Companies fix problems before they scare everyone away. New, better routes get discovered and shared. Check the research. I put some stuff there from Akerlof. Again, I always mention him because it's true. When an entire route of vendors are trying to convince you that Akerlof was wrong, information asymmetry doesn't matter. Yeah, they're lying. They're just lying. That's all. Like maligning the unpaid workforce that drives their value was always going to be more profitable than employing them. When there's no accountability for maligning them, why would they employ them? They just wouldn't. Employers also get the benefit of not, funding their own market failure, because when you make the labor market fail, you make the economy that you rely on to sell your goods and services fail. And employers have been asked to keep funding the market that's like destroying its economy. They don't have to do that anymore. I put in Russell and Ormond. Again, because I'm not good at the names. I'm sorry. Fulton. I know that one. And Lukac. Okay, so in the end, the job applicant perspective. Right now, TJAP is at Google reviews stage, collecting the foundational data, drawing the first contours of the landscape. With time and resources, it becomes like live Google Maps. Real-time updates from thousands of travelers, predictive routing based on historical patterns. Personalized maps showing you your best paths. Again, this could be different for different people. My neurotype, I'm from a small town going to a big city, or I'm from a big city considering moving to a small town, etc. and so forth. Just depends. Real-time updates from thousands of travelers, but even Google reviews stages changes everything. It proves the terrain can be mapped. It shows that what it feels like chaotic wilderness actually has patterns. And the travelers can be builders of functional market insight. Why this matters beyond metaphor, the Google Maps framework reveals something fundamental about labor markets. Markets only work when participants can navigate them. Right now, the only people with a map to the market are the ones not driving on the roads for survival, and the ones that profit the longer they can keep people on those roads. It's what it is. Whether the profit is not having to admit that you screwed up, or whether the profit is the current, salary and the current investment, it's the same thing. It's not good. This is better. Our current hiring market fails because no one that needs to use it has access to a functional map. Information is fragmented and actively misleading. Employers are admitting to the mainstream media. The mainstream media started reporting on it in 2013. The Wall Street Journal was reporting on these fake phantom jobs. And the Wall Street Journal, mainstream media is always behind the times. This is what they are, but partly because they do enough research that allows them to verify what they said is true. And that level of research in online space means a lot of things were actually much worse before that. And they reported in 2013, it's been going on. If you don't even think of the Akerlof-Lemon activity in the ATS or the National Converging in the ATS, if you only consider it based on ghost jobs, there's been a lemon labor market for 13 years. 13 years. And that doesn't even count like Jevons, compound, and paradox. Our current hiring market fails because there's no functional map. There's no shared map. It doesn't exist. Road conditions are secret. Companies hide their hiring processes. There's no GPS, no guidance for your specific situation. And detours are not suggested. When one route fails, you're back to wandering. And shaming. Shame yourself for having not known what you didn't know when you didn't know it. But the fact that you didn't know is your fault and you should be mad about it. You should be ashamed of it. So much gaslighting while they extort value. Such an economic oil rig just eroding the foundations of the economic stability and civic economy. And like the Army choir sang, do you hear the people sing? I don't even know how to be like, the level of reality disconnect for the leadership. I genuinely think it's not just the economic market that's decoupled. The economic leadership has decoupled from reality, and the political leadership has too. I mean, if you think about the parents, like the no contact trend, along with the male loneliness epidemic, and the political leadership right now, the entire leadership class is utterly decoupled from reality. Like they see no responsibility to require themselves to improve the well-being of the citizens that drive all of their value. It's just, yeah, it's a problem. It's the thing we got to work on, because I genuinely think when people say things like, well, I didn't know, how could I have known, whatever, it betrays the idea that as a leader, you didn't have a responsibility to always be looking for this, that it wasn't your responsibility to always look. That's what it betrays. And you had a responsibility. I generally think a lot of discrimination, it's not about white hoods necessarily. It's about a failure to consider, That's where my mind goes anyways. But I don't know. We'll see. And again, it's always nuanced, because in the end, there's hardly ever black and white, and it needs to be situationally understood. But still, I definitely think we have a real issue going on. But it's a work in progress, and we are working against it, eroding the narrative to help improve the outcomes. Because in the end, this is the future of the market. If the biggest secret to the online labor market is there is no secret at all. A market is a market, 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 is a market. That's it. The problem isn't the users. The problem is the users don't have each other to protect each other from the vendors who profit from their engagement, but not their solutions. TJAP's trust map solves all four problems at once with regards to employers, economic stability, job seekers, and community in the country. Conclusion, you're no longer lost for decades. Job searching has been an exercise in faith-based navigation, just wild economic foolishness. Apply, pray, repeat. I really do think a drive at hierarchical power sometimes is such a learning disability masquerading as value. Like, I learn from the vulnerable and therefore I'm not smart. Are you kidding me? The vulnerable is where the trust is. Trust does not come from power. Performance does. Trust comes from vulnerability. That's where the good information is. Listening to power is just listening to data drift. That's all it is. The emotional and economic cost of this approach are staggering. Staggering. Wasted time, missed opportunities, burnout, and the quiet erosion of hope across the national workforce, the citizenry. The Google Maps metaphor gives us a new way of thinking about solving this, not by making the terrain less challenging, but by giving everyone better maps, information symmetry. My goodness, is there a reality disconnect? When you can see where you are, where you want to go, the condition of all possible routes, and what other travelers are experiencing right now, something profound happens. You stop being lost. Even if the journey is long or difficult, you're on a real path, making measurable progress with the tools to adapt as conditions change. That's what TJOB is building. Not just another job board, but the first real map of the labor market since hiring went online. One where trust is the terrain, transparency is a legend, and your time finally has a clear path to opportunity. Yeah, I'm passionate about it. But in my defense, the current online hiring market is straight economic idiocy. Like wild. It's Bonhoeffer's collapse of perspectives. This is what I said before. It's that category error that happens because the problem hasn't been the workforce's ability to adapt. It's the leadership's ability to adapt. In our patriarchal line of thinking, if you're imperfect, you're not valuable. You teach repression. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to think about it, but social repression to get to the top. Obviously, we have an international ring of pedophiles going on. That's no good. It's not integrated. There's no adaptability. It's that
drive at an entitlement to comfort, an entitlement to power, entitlement to stability, as opposed to a requirement to adapt. I really do think the real truth is to err is human, because we do. Me too. But to adapt is divine. We need to adapt. We need to be professionally divine. That's the idea. And yeah, so I do this on Substack once, twice a week, and I will talk another week about my Wikipedia of the hiring process, because I think there's another way to look at this too for the literacy own. And there'll be more ways in the future. And I can't say that all of them will, which order they'll be get built right away. Right now, we're still working on the Yelp part, because this is still part of the go-to-market process. Because when you have 100 years of embodied, don't talk about your hiring process, it makes you unprofessional, and 20 years of, algorithmic trauma bonding that trained everyone through billions of applications, to be quiet or else, you just got a big protection racket going that would make the Corleones quite proud against the workforce. And it takes time to break the protection racket. It's the psychological deprogramming that I'm attempting to do. So anyway, yeah, please stop by, like, follow, share, repost if you can, or just engage. I also like the intellectual challenge. I had a good one from the guy from Moneyball the other day. It was really great. And yeah, I like talking about it. So thanks very much. Have a good one.